Welcome back to the French Rugby Podcast with me, Tim Graves, former France hooker Benjamin Kayser, and ex-Scotland international and adopted Frenchman Johnny Beattie. We're on Rugby Pass this season, as well as all your usual podcast platforms, and we've got the home of the top 14, Premier Sports, on board with us as well. Premier Sports is a place to watch every single minute from each game of the new United Rugby Championship, as well as being the only place to watch live top 14 in the UK and Ireland from each and every round. So watch the biggest names with all the games live on Premier Sports this season. Just check out premiersports.com to subscribe today from just $12.99 a month on Sky, Virgin and the Premier Player. We will get into chatting all about France, the top 14 and more in a minute. But Benji, how are you doing? Because we recorded the podcast quite late last week and you missed your flight the next morning.
Boys, I had a shocker. So I was in London basically when we recorded, and I got chucked out. So my Wi-Fi fell. Then I realized that it fell because they switched the place that I was on. I was getting kicked out. So they switched the Wi-Fi off. Then they knocked on the door. You guys couldn't see, but then they were telling me to bugger off basically. So, okay. So I couldn't really reconnect in the street under the pouring rain, whatever. So I apologize.
We covered for you, don't worry.
And then the next day, obviously, with my fantastic organization skills, after an hour and a half train to get back to my house, I forgot to book a taxi. So I was like, it's fine. I'll just drive then because I need to go to Heathrow. And I got to Heathrow for the 6:50 flight. And I'm looking everywhere for the flipping gate. And I can't find it. I can't find the 6:50 flight. And the woman was like, because there is no 6:50 flight. It's a 6:20 flight. And it's 5 to 6. I'm like, I can still make it. Come on. No, but security won't let you through. All right. So give me a 9 o'clock ticket, which was the next one. And I'll race through security. And I go through. And at 6 o'clock, exactly on the dot, I'm in front of the gate, right? In front of the given date. It's still saying boarding. Beautiful. Except there's a shut door. So I kick it in. The lady does not like it. Looks at me. Who the fuck do you think you are? I said, no, but I'm on this flight. I said, no, you're not. Because look at me. Look at your boarding pass at 9 o'clock. But I just changed. I don't know. In the end, she took it very badly. And so I sat on the bench.
Surprised me.
I sat on the bench for 20 minutes watching my flight take off. It's not like there was a bus or there was a tunnel or there was anything, right? There was only thing. At 6 o'clock in the morning, after being, back at home at midnight, up at 4, that was a long morning. And I hated your guts, basically. I don't know why.
It was our fault.
I had to find some sort of culprit in the end. And so you guys were the first two closest. So I was like, stuff it. It's on them.
But, we are sorry. We're sorry.
I've just got mental images, almost like Dumb and Dumber, of you running off the end of the walkway and just landing splat.
I would have tried. I was such in the slash fury slash not enough sleep, sort of half awake.
Yeah.
That was no fun. But listen, I'm back. I'm there. I'm young and I'm unbreakable. So I'm ready to go.
And was there some karma, Johnny? Because you've had some travel issues of your own, haven't you?
Well, I was doing the Premier Sports game for La Rochelle against Toulon last night up in Paris at the studios, and they completely forgot to book any travel. So I made it up there by the skin of my teeth, and then basically got up to leave this morning and went to check in, and there wasn't anything to check into. I was like, what? I said, oh yeah, we're sure we did it. Just check again. Nothing. Went to check in. No, nothing in my email. Upshot was they said, look, we can book you a car and you can drive from Paris to Spain, which is essentially where I live. And so essentially, long story short, managed to find the last plane out of Paris to Bordeaux this morning, jumped on that and then drove from Bordeaux down. So it's a late start because it's a 9 o'clock game here. You get back to hotel about 1:30, 2 o'clock. And then up this morning in a nice little flight and a drive from Bordeaux down to the southwest. So not quite as bad as Benji's, didn't quite have as much rage, sort of took it in my stride and thought these things happen. But yeah, not exactly fresh.
Well, we analysed Fabien Galtier's 42-man France squad for the autumn last week, and we chatted a bit about the captaincy. And today, just before we recorded, it's been announced that Charles Olivon's replacement as skipper is Antoine Dupont. So you surprised, Benji?
I am, yeah. I am. Well, the quality of the play obviously is not in question. He had a stormer of a game again at the weekend. He's just
again.
Let's just hope he doesn't blow up. He's not too good to be true, and then in 2023 he'll still be there, fit, ready to go. I think he's peaking way too early. I mean, stop playing now. Just put yourself in the fridge and wait. But yeah, you question how good can he possibly get? You know, it really gets to that point. I just think he didn't need it in terms of added pressure. I just think he's already way spoken about enough, not in France, not in Europe, in the world. How many times did your opposite number in the All Black side, who's got 100 caps for the All Blacks, Aaron Smith, mention your name as the best rugby player in the world at the moment is just it's something. So he's recognized everywhere, and I just think he didn't need that extra pressure. I just think you want to let him do his thing. He's an instinctive player. You don't want to add an extra responsibility. Now, Charles Olivon isn't there. I thought Anthony Gelon did a good job in Australia. Maybe there's a possibility that Anthony Gelon is not in the staff's mind a complete starter for the 3 games. Maybe they want to add a little bit of, mix things here and there. They absolutely love the line-out caller between Cretin and Cross on one side, potentially put Makalou in there, potentially give a shot to young Diallo, especially against Georgia. So maybe they're thinking they want a captain, to take the whole series. I don't know. And they had to take a decision. I obviously would have opted for Julien Marchand. I think he's got it. I think Gaël Ficou is definitely there because of their responsibilities they're taking in club, because it is sort of a trade. It is a proper how do you say that? A distinctive trade within a game of rugby. So surprised. Now, can he handle it? Absolutely. Can he do a good job? I'm sure he won't be alone doing that job. So as long as they name those 4 or 5 guys, I'm very happy with that. And it was great that there was actually competition for the role, but still surprised that they wouldn't go for the safest option, which was do not add extra pressure to our top player.
And the fact that Benji mentioned there he doesn't captain his club, does that matter, Johnny? And what kind of captain do you expect him to be?
I don't think it does. I think I called this last week, did I not? I put him, so Fabien Galti must listen to the podcast. Now we know. But I think it's an easy decision. He's clearly the best player, like head and shoulders above the rest. Gonna start without doubt every single game. The rotation, I think, will happen for Georgia. But look, he's steady. He's unflappable. Like, having played with him, he's always going to be part of the decision-making groups anyway. He's in a leadership position week in, week out for Toulouse as a scrum half, as everyone is in France. So he leads from the front when he plays. He's mature, he's steady. He's not somebody, like you said, that added pressure, Benji, but I'm not sure if there's another player on the planet right now that has that much attention in his direction. Like, he has so much. The media constantly in France is talking about him all the time. The social media stuff, pressure all the time. So I'm not actually sure the added pressure of being captain will be felt that much by him. He's that good, he's that talented, but then he's so chilled at the same time. Like, having been in a changing room with him at Cast, he's just a placid bloke who goes about his business uber professionally, and he's just a beast physically. So I think it's a great choice.
There's also a possibility of, you can imagine sort of Fabien Galtier sitting down with the 3-4 guys and telling them, listen, it's going to be one of you. We trust you all to be vice captains or whatever you want to name them. And then Julien Marchand being like, listen, because I know him personally, he is a very, very steady guy. And he'll be like, it's not my time, my place, my this. Gaël Ficou would be like, listen, I adore to stay a vice captain. Let me do my thing. And sort of look at Toto Dupont and be like, you take it. And
it's him.
Like you said, because he's got the shoulders, because you can't potentially add any more pressure or scrutiny that he's already under. And he probably said, yeah, I'll do it. Like he probably does, carries around the rug, goes, yeah, I'll take on all the big fellas and smash them and, run around them and then run for 45 minutes against Gas. And yeah, I'll just offload inside and give a try to, I can't remember who. Because that's how he plays at the moment. Everything's like, easy. Is that all?
But the cool thing is, Benji, like, how good to have that leadership group around you.
Yeah,
like those boys you've just mentioned, they're awesome. Like, awesome guys, great players. The team's functioning well. So it's a simple choice. The question for me now is, does he keep it? So you've got Olivon coming back potentially at the turn of the year, but like, time doesn't stand still for anybody in rugby. It's a young man's game. And you look at the people that are going to be given an opportunity. You've got Cretin, you've got Crow, you've got Aldrit who's going to start, you've got Makalou. And you sort of ask yourself the question, if he comes in, Toto Dupont, he absolutely kills it over the next couple of months, why would they not just keep him on? Because he's that good, let's be honest.
It's possible. And for the symbolic, Fabien Galtier would love, because he was the captain of the French
9,
team in
exactly.
2003. So he might, he loves to sort of be the mastermind behind something and say that if there's a relevance for the captain to be absolutely in the center of things, Philippe Saint-André was a fantastic French captain, but there's always a joke that when you're a winger, it's very complicated to be captain, right? Because you need to influence the ref, and that's why hookers are always there. That's why number 8s are always there. That's why back row is there. You just need a guy who's constantly in the mix. And to be fair, a 9 is constantly in the mix. Is exactly at the right time where the ref is. They pretty much, shadow each other. So it makes sense.
Elsewhere in the France squad, Virimi Vakatawa has been ruled out and he's been replaced by Aymeric Luc. So how big a blow is that for France generally? And does it make it more likely that we might see Romain Ntamack and Mathieu Jalibert start together?
I think it's a big blow physically. I don't know if you agree, Benji, but the physicality and the dominance that he brings to that midfield, like Ficou's a different type of player, still very physical and a big presence, but the X factor that he brings will be missed because he is so explosive, so dynamic, the handoff defend, the bumping, the tackle breaking. But it's also at the same time, maybe a good excuse. Apparently they've been training together today as a pair, Ntamack and Jalibert, and you think two guys that are insanely talented, why not? Like chuck them together, have two playmakers, two eyes, different types of players, to when you have Ficou and Vakatawa in the midfield mix. So you're losing a bit of physicality, but what you are getting is vision, creativity, and the ability to distribute with the second playmaker. So look, you've got two guys that are insanely talented. Why not chuck them in? It's a big first test against Argentina, but why not? Like they're that good. They've got the potential. They're both capable. So it's exciting. Also, I saw Ntamack played the last 25 minutes against Cast at 12. I'm not sure if that was something that was a message being passed on by the French coaching staff, but definitely capable. You've got two blokes there that are outstanding. So why not chuck them in?
But how many times have you heard that there's a message sent by the coaching staff that was actually applied by then the top 14 staff? It's a big deal.
Yeah.
I think it's barely ever happened. And it happened 2 years ago when Bordeaux got Maxime Loukou, the 9, who's back in there, and got, what's the name of the big second row, Cyril Cazot, and all those guys who were a little bit, picks out of nowhere. And Rafael Ibanez came out. It's like, to be totally honest, these guys were pretty much picked by Christophe Furios, because we back the top 14 coaches. If there's one person that knows his players inside out, is the guy who sees them on a daily basis. And it's the first time ever that we heard that type of chemistry between top 14 and sort of the federation, that type of, consensual, double way, dual way, whatever you want to call it, communication, which I think is absolutely brilliant. And so for Hugo Mola, who comes from a club like Toulouse, where Guinoves basically shut the door to all the French coaching staff for years. Nobody was even allowed. It was like near the cathedral. Nobody could step in. It was theirs, their kingdom. And now to hear, I don't think it's only symbolic. All of a sudden, Romain Ntamack playing 12 for 30 minutes, whatever, in a good game is absolutely no coincidence. And that's a very, very good sign, a healthy sign of partnership and collaboration. But just to go back to Vakatawa, of course, it's a big blow, but let's not forget, it's Vakatawa and Arthur Vincent who are both missing now. And Arthur Vincent was already a big deal. So I think it's to say, if they had both their guys, if they had their starting 15 where they could pick and choose between Gaël Ficou, Arthur Vincent, Virimi Vakatawa, that's the only solution where both guys don't deserve to be on the pitch. And like Johnny said it, now that their circumstances have changed, hell yes, you need to have the two guys there. He's played a lot of 12. It can't be a problem. The only thing for me that's truly a problem is that to beat the All Blacks, because that's the goal of the November tests, you need your X factors. You need your top players to be on the pitch. You need your game breakers. And Vakatawa is definitely that guy. So you're gonna miss him. You're gonna miss him dearly. And Romain Ntamack is absolutely extraordinary. One-on-one, creating space, creating circumstances. He's just not the same athlete as Virimi Vakatawa. So it's going to be a different game plan, probably. But it still is, obviously, every loss of that type of player is a big blow.
Let's turn our attention to the top 14 now then. And we spoke about him maybe moving on at the end of the season a couple of weeks ago. And your mate Morgan Parra, Benji, has set a new record, hasn't he, for most consecutive successful kicks at goal in the top 14. 48 is pretty impressive, isn't it?
He's got nuts of steel. he's got the biggest. When you want a guy who to be reliable under pressure, He's 1000% that guy. There's guys who just take a whole different dimension as soon as the stakes are higher. He's completely that guy. And that's why his kicking ability is not necessarily about his technical skills. So he's not particularly a powerful kicker. His precision is on point, but it's just the balls to do it. And the summum, the pinnacle of this is 2017 final. That I played with our guest who's going to come on in a couple of minutes. And in 2014, if you look at the last 10 minutes, he's got two incredible shots that he needs to take. One of them, he's competing for the ball. He gets the ball after being smoked by some sort of second row Gorgodze, I can't remember who it was for Toulon. And then he slots it. And then a couple of minutes later, there's not a penalty and he slots it. And obviously he gives us the winning penalty by competing on the ball, and then we kick it out. So it's under pressure. He is absolutely extraordinary. Extremely proud to have played with him. So chuffed for him that his name will be for the different reason in the history books for that consistency and that skill. Knowing him, he'll be happy with it, but he will swap it for a lot of other titles, a lot of good things. He doesn't really stop to these things, but I think it's just a good celebration, a good clin d'œil, a blink of an eye to somebody who really deserves it. Again, who's got an absolutely massive pair as soon as things get really, really tough, and I'm very proud of him.
You mentioned the mental side of things. Having played with him for so many years, how much of it is natural ability in terms of his kicking technique, and how much of it is hard work and practice?
No, so he works hard. When I was just starting at Stade Francais, it was the last seasons of Diego Dominguez. I don't know if you remember him, the Argentinian born, yes. The Italian kicker. Oh my word! You want to see? I mean, Johnny Wilkinson, I'm sure trained a lot. Diego Dominguez, mate, flipping out. I mean, hours and hours and hours. It was just absolutely, ginormous, whatever you want to say. And there was always this joke that he would always ask, somebody at the end, have you got a minute for me? I said, yeah. And obviously I was 18. I was never going to say no. And he just stayed behind the post. And all the boys would laugh. Yeah, Ben's ready to help. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll help. And you would end up staying for hours. But I mean, hours. And can you do some passing with me? And he's this big blonde guy with blue eyes, beautiful, always tan, very gorgeous wife, gorgeous children. He's like the son of God. And they were like, oh, Benji, can we do a couple of passes at the end? Yeah, sure. And you'd be passing. And you give him a pass, and then he just doesn't catch it, just whacks it. He's like, passe de merde, shit pass. Don't ever do that again. Oh, okay, sorry. So you pass it, and he smiles again. And you pass. And he's like, never again, passe de merde. Concentre-toi, Benjamin. Okay, who the hell is this dude? He's just a crazy trainer, overachiever. Well, Morgan, if you flip the coin, is completely different. Morgan is laughing. Morgan is a bettor. He's a gambler. So he'll be speaking to you. Come on, $10 for this one. $10 for that. If I hit this one twice, you owe me this. That's how he gets wound up. But he still trains, obviously, not with the same methodology as Diego, but 100% his technique or his ability is all down to his mental capacity. I've never seen such a ball breaker, to be honest, on a daily basis, but he wants to win at everything, but to the point where he's ready to bite your face off and cheat and trip you down and push you down the stairs if it's to win. He doesn't care. So at cards, at any sort of any argument, you will say white, he'll say black just for the sake of it, because he wants to go against everybody else and fight everyone. And he's got that revolutionary side about him. But obviously that power and that resilience and that grit helps him when he's about to step up and take important kicks.
Any intel, because obviously he's been offered you don't want to say this because your mate, but he's been offered by Clermont. It's still sitting there. And apparently his old mate Gonzalo Caseda has offered him at Stade Francais. Has there been any movement? Does he know where he's going yet? Or
no idea, mate. No idea. But I think Paris is definitely on the table.
Who was the best goal kicker you ever played with, Johnny?
I had a few. I had Martin Bustos Moyano, who's got the world's best Uno Brau, an Argentinian boy that I played with at Montpellier and Bayonne, kicked us up to top 14 when we were in Pro D2, really consistent. And with Scotland, actually, as well, when you talk about Morgan Parra, it just reminds me of Greg Laidlaw. So I have no idea how they got on in the same team, because they're very similar personality types. Well, there you go. But two guys that are ultra competitive, like Grieg, if it was ping pong, if it was golf, if it was cards, the exact same, just scrap for every single inch. You're playing pool, the same. Like, he was just gifted at everything because he practiced so hard, like repetitive practice, whatever you do. you get good at. And Greg is just belligerent the exact same way. That mentality, wants to win, wants to scrap, knows he's not physically the most gifted, but will scrap for every single inch. So Martin was amazing. Greg Lade was amazing. Chris Patterson was also really good. So between him and Greg, anything that was in the 22 was a sure thing. Anything outside the 22 is another question, but incredibly accurate, gifted as well. But they just practiced the hell out of it. They were just so committed to being the best they could be and repeating that jest over and over and over again.
Well, let's stick with the Clermont theme then and get one of your former teammates on the show, Benji, to talk to us about how they're getting on at the moment and how Jono Gibbes is settling back in. Clermont number 8, Fritz Lee joins us. How are you, Fritz?
I'm great, thank you. No injuries, which is always good sign. But we have a little bit of bump in the beginning of the season, but everything is going well now. So looking forward to finish the next couple of weeks before we have the November break. So some crucial match for us coming up.
Mate, talk to us about Jono. Obviously, so you and I know him quite well. Yeah. Everybody was super excited about him coming back to the club. For those who don't know, there's a huge culture of overtraining at Clermont. Yeah. Like they absolutely beast you for a long time. Apparently, Jono, tell us, Fritz, if I got my info wrong, right, but flipped the module around a little bit, and preseason was actually not that crazy. And he sort of said, we will peak form when we peak form. Yeah. Doesn't necessarily need to be August, but then be completely drained by December. Let's try to do things differently. So is that what you think could sort of explain a little bit the few bumps, like you said at the beginning of the season?
Exactly what you're saying. It's quite refreshing that Jono came in. A lot of new ideas, obviously with the technical side of things. But the thing that I enjoyed the most was the preseason. Out of my probably 10 years of playing rugby, it's probably the easiest preseason I've ever done. And the whole theme of the preseason for him, obviously because we had a shorter preseason this year due to the COVID, but the whole theme for him was everything was technical rugby, and then secondary was your fitness and everything else come behind it. So this year we did a lot of games, a lot of rugby orientated training. I don't think we ever did. We did the Broncos one, the test, the Bronco test the first day, and that was about it. And then every other day was skills, rugby, which for me as an old fella is pretty refreshing. But yeah, me and Jono is I don't know. I can't remember the last time when he was here, but he brought a lot of new ideas. I don't know where he learned it from. When he was in Ulster or in Waikato or La Rochelle with O'Gara, but he brought a lot of new things into the club in terms of rugby wise. I think it's quite refreshing for myself and all the young guys coming through the academy as well. So, but he's still the same. He's still sort of very driven coach. He likes
a Guinness.
Yeah, like Guinness to take all the responsibility and make sure everything gets on. He's very detailed as well. So it's quite refreshing for myself, but it's quite good learning for the young guys coming through as well through the club.
Do you remember that video session so Jono was one of the coaches. I only had him when I was from 30 to 33 or something like that. So I thought, that I didn't really have much to learn technically. Obviously, I started to learn about game management, and he taught me so much. Like he was really one of the only coaches who constantly, every single habit that you've got, whether it's, jumping in a line out, whether it's your passing ability, you tackle with right shoulder, why? There's always a why somewhere. But explain to me why. And if you can't explain it, well, then go and look for it why, because surely there's a better way of doing it. And that's his whole mind process. I remember this video session where I thought, fuck, he is pretty clever. He's always got a side angle to everything. Remember this video where he only showed the beginning of the drop kicks of the kickoffs, and he could see Camille Lopez in the middle, showing the ball, kicking. The ball was in the end, and he would pause. Where's the ball going?
Yeah.
Well, we don't know. We don't know the rest. And he skips to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Yeah. And none of them, nobody could find the answer. I was like, where is he getting to? And then John was like, nobody can tell me. Are you sure? He's like, well, Camille, what does the ref ask you every single time you kick? He asks you where you're going to kick so he can stand on the opposite side so it doesn't bother you. And you were like, shit, 15 years of rugby, I never really thought of asking the question. It's a big old indication if you could know on which side the kick was going to go every time of the kickoff, right? You want to know everything you can sort of before it happens.
Actually,
he is clever.
Likes to play mind games with you.
Yeah.
I mean, every review it's never going to be the same. You know, whatever we play a game last week, and he's always have new ideas. He's always 2 steps ahead of of all of us. You think you had a good game, and then he'll put you up in the whole review, like, you know. I remember the first game against Leon. We had a piece against Leon. I thought, you know, I had not a bad game before old fella, you know, running around. First couple clips Jono put up was all Fritz. You know, he was asking me questions. Why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? I was like, actually, it's a good point. You know, I wasn't looking at details that he was picking up. So the whole thing is, I think that's his strongest point, is the details. He likes to focus on everything that's going on in the lineup, by example, from lifting to your feet work, to your jumping, to everything.
When the games I've watched, like when you do hit your straps and you get into multi-phase, you're dangerous. Like, you're so good to watch. You're enjoyable to watch as a team. Game breakers, well organized. Like, the one bit I was going to ask, everyone talks about him and his detail and his themes and how deep, like in Ulster, they absolutely loved him. La Rochelle was the same. Like, one of the sticking points has obviously been your line out over the first kind of block. How's it been for him? Because on the touchline, he looks like he's under pressure. You talk to everyone, he's like cool as a cucumber, like get back in review. Like, what have the reviews been like? Because he has this reputation, but what's it been like? Because it's a little bit of pressure. The start of the season, like you said, has been bumpy. How's it been for him?
Since we had a very short preseason, he sort of kept everything that we did the last couple of years with Frank and Bernard. But the only thing that he changed was all the details that goes into whatever system that we have in place already. What he did is refine everything that we do the last couple of years, but we've got to precise everything. I think that's probably the main thing that he changed when he came in. Our attack, you know, obviously Clermont is very good at attacking with the ball, but he came in and identified some weaknesses in our attack, and he changed a lot of things, you know, around the ruck area, around our running lines, or the timing of everything that we do in our attack. But you know, like I say, he's a very technical guy, and I think it's our reviews very short now. You know, he doesn't drag it out too long, but he identified the problem straight away. If you know, and he's sort of a guy that he calls people out, whether it's myself, whether it's Morgan Parra, whether it's anyone that, you know, played 50 tests for France, which is I think good. I think he doesn't play any favoritism around the team. I think it's if an old fella's not doing his job, then he'll pick that up in the review and be like, you know, which is good for young fellas as well. If they feel like, you know, Fritz is getting told off in the review, then I better get myself sorted as well. So.
And that would have been one of the biggest criticisms leveled at Frank Azema before he left, right? Was that he was quite matesy with some of the old boys. Yeah. And it was a bit easy and cushy. So in terms of personality types, it's really different, right? This new brand of pressure for everyone can only be good for everybody going forward.
Yeah, exactly. I think, you know, Frank did well for the club for the last couple of years, but the last couple, I would say 2 years, I think he was getting too comfortable with the players. I'm not quite sure if that was a good thing for, you know, for overall performance for the club. But when Jono came in, he was sort of separating himself from everyone else. He's the boss. Everybody he told Duncan, when Duncan came late in the reunion, in the meeting one time, and it was like, oh, I mean, you know, obviously Duncan's a big superstar, and he came late. He just rocked up. You know how Damian's like. He's like, I don't know whatever excuse he had. And Jono asked him where he was, and he said that, oh, I sent a text to Neil. Neil was the manager, that he's coming late. And Jono was like, okay, let me tell you, everyone in this room, if you ever come late, I'm the boss in the ASM now. Not Neil, not anyone in this room. I'm the boss now. So if you come late, you send me a message or you give me a call. And I thought that was really important. Like everyone, like Neil, like, oh, Jono's, you know, he mean business. But if Frank was there, he won't do that. He will tell the player individually outside of the meeting, instead of addressing it in front of everyone, to make sure that everyone, you know, this is how we're going to do things around here now. So I thought
that's probably why I was so excited about having Jono back. It's because he had those years, so he sort of experienced this firsthand. It's not like he got a memo when Franck left, but this is how things. He saw it firsthand. I think he knows that ASM is la belle endormie. ASM is a sleeping giant.
Yeah,
there's absolutely everything to build a dynasty of victories, 150%. But sometimes it needs to be shaken up a little bit. Sometimes things need to be addressed in a bit of a volcanic way. And he's got some volcanic blood, Jono, from time to time. And if anything, that's what people wanted. I mean, that's what they went to get. And Damien Penaud will tell you that, he probably got his fingers burned a little bit that day, but he likes that. And I think everybody likes that, because Jono is a straight shooter, right? If he's got something on his mind, for one, his knees will be trembling up to his ears because he's like gets overstretched. So you can tell that he's about to blow up. But for two, he will address it eye to eye, and that's his type of mentality. So he doesn't speak much around the team, maybe in the media and all that, but in the team meetings, 100%. And that's what I've always really enjoyed with him.
Yeah, he likes to address the problem in front of everyone, which is really good.
But Tim, Johnny, enough about Jono. He's a legend, but enough about him. The whole idea of this show is also to sort of promote guys who are absolutely killing it in France. And you always came up as the number one sort of, example. Why did Nick Abendelon do well as a foreigner in France? And why did Jamie Roberts, was his little brother, came in here? And you rocked up and you smoked everyone. And hallelujah, they didn't give you a Super Rugby contract in the Chiefs, because it was the best thing that ever happened to ISM. Because I'll say that honestly, bottom of my heart, mate, and I've told this to you a couple of times, but you always need to bet on the guys who are there all the time. And the best thing that ever happened to ISM is that you were never picked internationally because you played for the Sevens, I think, for the Kiwis. Fantastic. That's the best thing that happened for us, not for you, obviously. And you were there day in, week out, every single flipping day. And that's why I really do believe that you were by a mile the best player of sort of the last decade, in that sort of dedication, hard work, graft, just putting on shift after shift after shift for the boys. And it was brilliant. And on top of that, if you could tell the listeners, how did you call your last daughter? But that means that you do love France and you do love wine, and that's why I love you. And because his last daughter's name is Margot. So I'm like, this guy loves it here.
I quite enjoyed my time in Clermont, actually. I think, like you said, I just got an opportunity to come over for 3 months. You can say I was quite lucky. I was quite lucky as well. For the club was lucky, but I was very lucky, fortunate as well, that I got an opportunity to stay in France, which is not many players from New Zealand come over and play good rugby in France. I think, but the thing that I like most about France is probably the wine. I think just to let everyone know that, not so much rugby, but I even named my daughter Margot, so that's how far I went. No, I enjoy good wine with Benji, actually. When Benji left the club, he gave me his little wine opener, little traditional wine opener he carries himself. So whoever gets that, sit at the back of the bus and be the chef of the bus. So I still got it, Benji. Don't worry, I haven't lost it yet. But,
oh man.
So forget the captaincy and all of that. Whoever got the wine opener, that's the big role you want.
Yes, that's it. I think,
Johnny, the best moments you spend in France is back of the bus after an away win, mate. Bloody hell! I mean, it's got to be all the way up there.
Yeah,
mate. One of my best, not best memory, but chalk and cheese memory was getting pumped with Bayonne. I think we played against you, Fritz. I got pumped something like 60, 70 points. One of the best points playing in Clermont is there's a McDonald's in the stadium. And so the sort of silver lining, it was so far gone, we were relegated. And as captain, the last thing I could do was like, right, I'll buy everyone a McDonald's. The season's gone, but got Vincent Achet to let me get everyone a Big Mac meal. And we got back on the bus to try and salvage a little bit of something because it was a tough day. But you're right, mate. It's normally the troisième mi-temps, the best bits at the back of the bus, being able to share a glass of wine.
Yeah.
Normally there's the front row that have brought their dodgy collection and their chinking luggage rucksacks on the way to the ground, and they supply the team. But but it's one of the best bits. I wanted to, like, really briefly, you said it's rare for a Kiwi to come over and play good rugby.
Yeah.
But like, having played the same position, you're pretty much one of the references in the number 8 back row position over the past decade in the top 14. You've been there for 10 years. And Benji alluded to the fact that ASM were lucky, Clermont were lucky because you were tied to New Zealand. But is there any part of you, having been here for 9 years now, feeling a little bit French? You've mentioned Margot, your daughter's name. Would you have liked to have pulled on a blue jersey and represented France at some point?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I think yeah, I would have if I had a chance. I think you know, if France gave me a chance to represent them, I'll probably say yes. Obviously, in New Zealand, there's so many talents, and I thought, you know, my craft wasn't appreciated, you know, back home, and I thought, you know, I'll go somewhere else to look somewhere else and see if some other club out in Europe can appreciate, you know, the player, me as a person and as a player as well. So, like I said, I'm very fortunate that I came to a very good club like Clermont. But you know, by saying that, I didn't sit on my back and did nothing. I think I had to work hard and you know, train hard and trying to put myself out there, because it's very tough getting to the stage where there's young guys coming through, and which is every year is tough for me, because there's always someone younger, stronger, faster than me. But I think the thing that I have that I think that other players are lack, it's probably my mentality, how I approach rugby. I think it's how I think it's something in me that when I play rugby, it's just, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just not fear anyone. I think, and that's something that drives me every time. I think it's probably the fear of missing out, I think, as well. When I came through New Zealand, I missed out. The coach told me I'm not getting signed. So that fear of me losing my job was probably my driving point as well. So when I came to Clermont, 3 months, I told myself, this is it, 3 months, I'll go home and find a real job. So, you know, a lot of hard work went in through that, but, you know, finally pay out.
And for anyone who doesn't know your backstory, Fritz, you played sevens for New Zealand. So that captured you and meant not only could you not play for France after qualifying on residency, you couldn't play for Samoa where you were born either.
Yeah. So, yeah, I did sevens with New Zealand for 1 year. I think 2010 I played for them, and then I did Super Rugby. So that changed my eligibility to play for any other country. I think, which people say that, do you regret playing for New Zealand? And I'll say, no, I don't regret it, because if I didn't go through that route, I'll never be here as well. So as a player, because it was a massive learning point for me in terms of being professional, and, you know, the training obviously is tough training, and the travel as well. So, but at one point I asked Clermont if I can go to represent Samoa. So I had to do the sevens tournament. I think it was 2015, I remember. But it was, we didn't find any agreement with the club, because at the time we were having so many European Cup games, and the travel, if I do go do the sevens tournament in Hong Kong, it was, so I ended up didn't go. So I thought that was my last chance of trying to.
Would you try and roll that dice again? Because, like, obviously one of my ex-teammates you played with, Sitaleki Tamani, his younger brother Lopetti is just re-qualified to play for Tonga.
Yeah.
And with the World Cup coming around, there's like one last roll of a dice potentially for lots of Pacific Island players to potentially represent their country and be part of a 2023 World Cup. Is there any part of you that want to try and go a different route again and try re-qualifying, or do you think that ship sailed?
Yeah, I think they did the Monaco sevens. I think that was the Olympic. I think that was the last one, I think. Hopefully I'm not wrong. But as any other players, you always want to play. I mean, you can play club as much as you can, but as any player, you always want to play international level. I think that's the ultimate goal, is trying to represent, you know, your country and on the world stage. But I don't think I'll see myself with the timing, with my age. I think you've got to play some luck in there. But I don't think I'll see myself going back to that route. I think Clermont's happy that I'm not playing international as well. So I think that's another bonus for me as well. So they're not looking for another international. When the international play comes here, they have to leave for so many weeks back to their country. So I think Clermont's pretty happy that I'm not tied in with any other country, which is it's good for them, but it's good for me as well.
They are definitely happy, and it's your 9th season with them, I think. And you mentioned earlier you were only supposed to be there for 3 months, so it's a hell of a story. And at the stage of your career that you're at now, can you see yourself playing for anyone else?
Yeah, it was a funny story because I came to the end of my contract last year and I was trying to negotiate with the club. And there was actually a few other clubs that were interested with especially the COVID, and you were trying to look for the best deal that you have. There were a few clubs that were very interested with better deal, but me and my wife would sit down, had a good chat, and wave a lot of things that we want to do in the future with our kids, and as a player as well, what sort of legacy you want to leave in the club that you came into. I think for me that was very important that I stay in Clermont to continue my. I want to show younger kids that you can come from somewhere else and play in the club. You can stay here and show your loyalty, and they can, and for me it was probably the main thing was stay in Clermont and continue my rugby here until I finish, and hopefully I'll finish in Clermont. I think the club were pretty happy with. So that at the end, the club came back and pretty keen to sign me through with a couple more years. So I was quite happy with that because I didn't see myself, especially in France, I didn't see myself playing for any other club in France. I think it's quite important for me to leave my footprint in Clermont. Hopefully inspire some other kids, around the world that if they want, you can get a second chance and you can play for a couple of years and make your mark in the club like Clermont.
And when you do hang up the boots, are you staying in France? And any interest in coaching? We saw Jerome Kono finish up at Toulouse and coach the Espoirs. Anything like that?
Me and Benji had a talk with this, so I'm not going to do so much, Benji. I'm going back to New Zealand, so don't worry.
I've got a long kill list. So those guys that claim the show much but don't stay in France, It's that's an end of the night, past a lot of Margot sort of type of discussion.
I'm not quite sure yet. I'm going to do 2 years with Clermont, and then hopefully I'd love to help out young kids coming through the academy. Just give them some sort of expectation of what's a professional rugby be like, and give them a couple of tips of how to drink wine and how to pick wine, and what's out there. So at the moment I haven't decided what I'm going to do after rugby, but I'm trying to focus on trying to get myself healthy and continue playing, and we've got to pay the bills. Hey, Benji.
You're going to have one more big extension surely with Jono and Clermont before you retire. Another big last contract. But take us back 9 years ago. Everyone that's played with Benji, we asked for their first impressions. How did a young Benjamin Kaiser take you under his wing? What were your first impressions of the bloke, and how did you get on? Take us back to 9 years ago.
First expression of when I first met Benji, I'm like, man, this guy's English. I'm sure this guy's English. Because the way he's speak perfect English. And I was telling everyone, met this English fella in Clermont. And I was like, what's his name? Oh, Benji. I was like, oh, no, he's not English. You'll be offended if you tell him that. So no, he's a good fella. Benji's a good fella. Hey, Benji, some good story around the bus.
Man, we had some good time. What's your best? Forget about 2017 when we won, because that was obviously big, right? That was absolutely big. But I've got one in my mind, What's sort of your second best memory of a huge win with Clermont?
The best depends. I think the best memory I had with you was. Do you remember the New Year's against Toulouse on the bus? We actually lost the game, but New Year's on the bus, and we had some party in that ride back. 5 hours of crazy. I think that's.
I can't remember who bought those lights. You know, the stromboscope. You know, the light that would do that. So the back of the bus, mate. There was no point of being on the Champs-Élysées in Paris. You just need to be on a stinky bus with 6 Samoans with their shirts off, you know, sweating like piglets after drinking too much wine. We were in heaven. We didn't need much more. You know, we were happy there. But no, we've had some proper big wins. Winning Munster in Munster, winning Saracens in Saint-Etienne. Shit, there's been some proper battles, but there's been some fantastic nights in the bus, in your cave, in my cave, wherever it is. As long as there's happy times, a good bottle of wine in the middle, some good bloody memories in there, we'll always have that.
Benji was my translator when I first arrived, actually. If I want to sort anything out with orange or any electric, I ring up Benji. Benji, can you check? So I had 2 phones like this, putting it together so that whoever's online will speak to Benji. So
did he sort out your Wi-Fi for you?
Oh my God!
Are you in your cave now, Benji? Is that the cave?
Man, I've ended up I'm on the floor with my phone plugged in because I heard you as soon as I got connected. I heard I'm going to leave a footprint. Well, I think I left my footprint on my Wi-Fi sort of box or something. I absolutely killed it. Don't know what's going on. Tough times, Fritz. Tough times. You said about 2 years. Just hang in there as long as you can, buddy. Hang in there.
Hold on.
The real jungle is after. Forget about the big wins. I mean, we said Munster was enormous. I remember you passing the ball in the quarterfinal against Naikatasi when you went like this. You were doing that machine gun sort of rolling pumps. I've only got happy memories of you busting your ass for the team, putting a lot of sweat, a lot of blood on that jersey, and I was privileged to share the field with you. But just for the symbolic, for my last game, 2019, top 14 final, you're captain of ASM. Jerome Kano is captain of Toulouse. We did what's it called again? The bati, that Joe used to do and stuff. So you do the batia, whatever, all the Samoan claps. So there was a real embrace, and the 2 teams who basically embraced the most that hybrid multinational culture, or all of a sudden the 2 teams that went to the final. Was that sort of an extra element of you saying? Because I know obviously you're Kiwi, but you're a proud Samoan in your heart, and you want to represent it, all the way up there. Was there a sense of accomplishment of saying, not only am I playing well, but on top of that, I've been accepted for who I am, for who I really am, for who I am deep inside, and the opposition team sort of did the same thing with Jerome. Was that? I don't think I ever asked you that question, but was that something extra special? Even though we lost.
Yeah, we lost. Apart from the game, everything was special. I think. Now, for me, captaining that team that went into the final was massive. I mean, I look back to my career from my first arrival. I could never imagine myself captaining Clermont. I've seen some amazing players that represent Clermont. Benji himself as well. The Julian Bonner, Jamie Cartmore. All those fellas, and I could never imagine myself, captaining the team in the final. And I thought I was too emotional in that game because obviously I wanted to beat Toulouse. Obviously Toulouse, Clermont, and always a rival. And then you have Jerome Kano, who's another Samoan guy that's captaining the Toulouse team. So I couldn't handle my emotion before the game, but it was very special. I think it's something I'll always keep fairly in my heart with, even though we didn't win the game, but the whole week that we had just before the final was for me, it was probably one of the highlights of my career as well, to captain Clermont in the final, regardless of we lost the game. But having you, Benji, behind me was made my job easier as well. I thought when you left, sort of there's a massive having someone like you around the club made my job easier when I was a captain as well. In terms of, not only translating my emotions to the boys, but, just having your experience around. I thought we quite missed that when before Jono came. But, like you said, it was hell of a game. We couldn't have gone either way as well, that Toulouse game. But we live to fight another day. So.
And Ben, you mentioned winning it in 2017 together. Does it feel like this current crop under Jono has the possibility to go all the way again or not?
Not quite yet. No, I think we're not quite yet to that point where I think that 2017 was a very special team, Benji. Going into games, we knew exactly I'm not trying to be cocky, but from the quarterfinals to the finals, we were very confident. We were going to go in, trust everything that we have, and we came with the result. Except when we played Saracen in the final, we lost, we thought that we had a good chance to, win that European Cup. But then we would play the final. I thought before the final, I knew this group has something special in them. They can push the boundaries, they can push through dark places, and I think that's what the new guys coming through need to learn through. It's especially top 14, man. You got to find your dark place when you play top games. You got to really, really dig in, because at some point your skill level, your mental, capacity can hit a wall, and that's when you start pushing through beyond that. I think that's what the group of players that we have now. They still have a bit of room to experience some tough times, I think. But like saying, before 2017, we lost how many finals before then? So it's almost like a trend of 3 years, and that was the consequences. We won the 2017. We lost all the finals, the pressure. But I think I'm not quite sure. We're still learning with the group that we have now, with Jono coming in. I think with the new systems that we have, I think time. I believe that this group can take it a little bit further as well, like we did in 2017. I think we had sort of mix of older guys and younger guys coming through, which is the same thing that we have in 17. We had, Raka, very young fella, and then we have Damien as well. And then there was a couple of old fellas in that team as well. So it was a good mix of experience and inexperienced talent that came through. I'm not quite sure. I think we're still learning with the group that we have now with Jono. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully we're going to find our feet, and we'll go from there.
Thanks so much for coming on, Fritz. It's great to hear the passion for Clermont really coming through, and one more big contract, I reckon, before you're out.
Easy.
I might just jump on the show, Marche, but what do you reckon?
You keep those boots laced up.
I'll stay in France.
You're not going anywhere. You're French in your heart now, mate. I know it. But whatever you decide to do, I know that you've got the ethic to do things right. So as long as it's good for your family, don't even think twice about me. Just do it, man.
Thank you. Keep in touch, huh?
Cheers, my man. I'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Cheers, Fritz.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Well, Fritz could be in for a big game this weekend, because last week's guest, he had a hell of a game, didn't he? Francis Saeli, 2 tries, Biarritz hammered Brive, 37-9. Went well, didn't it?
Franny got a double. He also set up Henry Spate for a cracker down the wing as well. They absolutely hammered Brive, 5 tries past them. But strangely, the standout for me, Benji, I'm not sure how much you've seen of him, but Johnny Dyer, the Fijian back row that plugs in at second row, is like an absolute phenomenon, like ball carrying. Between him and Steph Armitage, I don't know how many turnovers they get, but they're just unreal in the contact area. And Biarritz, who I thought would struggle, are actually killing it. They're doing really well. They've lost at home to Toulouse, but the manner in which they played and how they beat Brive in that comprehensive fashion, like, it looks really good. They look like they're having fun. The sun's out. It's going to change when winter comes in. It's going to be a different type of game they're going to have to play over the next couple of months. It's going to be hard graft, but some of them have been absolutely phenomenal to watch. Absolutely superb win against Brive at the weekend.
They're a breath of fresh air, Barretts. There was always this how do you say, le spectre, not even the spectrum, but whatever, this light of having a repetition of Agen, who hallelujah won a game apparently. I saw.
Yes.
Not like scoring 2 points last season in top 14 in the whole entire season. So there's always this thing. Barretts qualifying after losing to Pro de Deux final and then qualifying extraordinary matter. Recruitment is absolutely last minute. When you consider Perpignan are struggling a little bit, you were really, really scared and concerned for Barretts. They killed it in the opening, I think, 2 rounds, didn't they? Yep. They won consecutively. Then they had a few shockers, and this one against Brive, who were going to be relatively within reach of the bottom for them. It was a massive, massive win.
Just shows you have to go to Ibiza. That's what Perpignan didn't do right. They didn't get that trip to Ibiza.
Yeah, mate.
What do you think?
Next pre-season.
You mentioned them, Benji. I know it's only Pro de Deux, but are Agen going to Ibiza? First win in 600 days.
They need it.
They
need Ibiza. They need Vegas. Roll them all in.
They need a coach because one day it's one team, and then Bernard Houta, the former force coach, is going to go. And I spoke to Frank Azema the other week, and he was a bit peed off actually because Clermont, I don't know what they're doing, but they prevented Bernard from going because he's meant to go to New Orleans to. Clermont have taken, I think, 10% stake in the New Orleans Gold, I think it's called, or something like that, the MLR franchise. And he was meant to go from January to help them for a couple of months and stuff, which would be a fantastic opportunity for him. But then when something pops up before, to take on a big responsibility in Agen, and he joined Clermont from Colomiers, and he did a great job in Colomiers in second division. So it would have been exactly what he needed. And they're blocking it. So this is a shame.
And did either of you think Montpellier would go away to Racing and win?
There's an sort of intercept try by Kobe Schreinak, who legged it 55 meters or something. Racing a bit up and down, and Montpellier, look, they've been a bit shaky at the start. But when they've got everybody in the field, they are a proper team.
Dark horses.
Squads. They're so I still don't see them trusting the number one slots. I don't see the type of production that even Racing from time to time are able of doing. Of Bordeaux are able of performing, of sometimes glimpses of what Stade Francais is capable of showing, and what Toulouse are doing week in, week out. They're still not there. And then obviously there's Clermont and Lyon and stuff. But on the good day, on the aggressive day, with a great line out, defensive line out, with guys who are ready to work hard for each other and work for a full 80, they are a proper team. And they're one of those teams that are no fun to play against.
And I think as well, people forget how hard it was after Vern left, where they were solid. They were hard to, they finished first in the regular season. They didn't quite win when Vern was there, but they were hard to beat. They were combative. They dominated everyone that year, but they didn't quite get over the finish line. Then Xavier Garbajosa comes in. It does not go well. And it wasn't a happy camp. But now, like a more settled coaching group, added a few different little players. And just that general fact that they're happy and settled, they look like they're having more fun on the pitch. And like Kobus Reinach, like you mentioned, that 55-meter interception where he gassed both wingers and stripped the number 8 of the ball from the base of the scrum in front of the Springbok coach. Like that was one moment of the game, but generally they're exciting again. Like, and they've been a little bit disappointing for a couple of seasons, but like I think potential dark horses to sneak into the top 6 again. When you look at the budget they have, the players they've got, the caliber of people they've got at their disposal, I mean, they're back where they should be, a top 6, top 8 team, because they've got a serious amount of firepower.
We spoke about Toulon's woes last week and how Patrice Collazo is in trouble. They lost 39-6 at La Rochelle. So how close to the brink is he?
I think there's big, yeah. He's under pressure. My mate Julien Dupuis is under pressure. They're all under pressure. Fred Michalak is going to rock up in December, apparently not to replace anyone.
No.
But to chip in. He's got a good experience. He's got a very good drill in kicking and sort of global strategy, which will be great. And he's a top bloke, and he'll fit in like a glove. I just hope that those plans are not going to be canned because anything can happen in the next couple of weeks, right? Bernard Lemaitre is clearly not happy. He's created a whole new training center, which is beautiful. There's big investment, and he's just wanting to get paid. There's a good side. There's a good squad. There's a couple of injuries that are very
there's a lot
for them at the moment. but otherwise they've got a good squad. So but last year was the same. Last year they were struggling with injury all the time. It's not just bad luck. Maybe there's something around the conditioning, there's something around the training methodology, the player hygiene. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't seem to be clicking their way. So I heard last week that when they lost, he actually said that it was sort of something. It was almost a positive loss because something clicked, something happened. They could have let go. They fought till the end. The players spoke to each other. There was a big row about it. But then when you lose by 36 away, it's complicated. So I don't want to believe it, but I'm afraid something might happen in the next couple of weeks.
They were again, that was the game I worked on for Premier Sports last night. They were properly Humpty, like awful to watch. And La Rochelle were decent, don't get me wrong, but they didn't have to work that hard for the 30, 40 points they put on them. And like even weird things. I know there's the injury list, like they don't have Olivon, Serrat, Itzabeth, Colby, Parise. Like the injury list and the quality that they have done without is insane. Like we said, it's a little injury list, but there's something like 12 or 13 top level players out. You have to remember they didn't have a preseason because all their players were away on tour. They were playing in that sevens tournament. They didn't manage to do one preseason fixture. But I don't know, it just seems that Collazo is compounding these little things and shooting himself in the foot. Like last night for the game, they chose the Georgian Gigashvili at hooker. He's never played a game there professionally.
Yeah, but he didn't have a choice.
He did. He let Bastian Suri go to Biarritz last week.
Yeah, okay.
And then this week he also had Soseni Fergai, the American international. He's got like 10 caps for America on the bench at hooker. Like he does have options, but he chose to put Gigashvili at hooker. They lost pretty much 70% of the lineouts. He didn't know how to hook the ball at scrum time, so they didn't have any set piece. It's like all of that, they fell apart. And then whenever they did have the ball, they just kind of looked headless and aimless. And it was a bit sad. That was the honest impression I got watching the game, was they just looked flat. They didn't know what their direction was, and they weren't together at all. So like Freddie Misak coming in, he said he's not coming to take the place of somebody. He's coming in as a consultant 2 or 3 days a week. He doesn't even see himself in full-time coaching. But you get the impression, like the Toulon fans, like if you see on like social media, like after Collazo announced Gigashvili at hooker, they were saying, oh no, we can't wait to see Colby at second row. This is great. Like it's turned into a joke. And so for me, it's like now it's a matter of weeks as opposed to months. Will they give him more time? I'm not sure. Like the president's already called him out in the press 3 weeks ago, then reassured him his job's still there. And it's a bit back and forth. But when that's happening in public, it doesn't smell good. So look, it's not good. And you don't want to see people losing their jobs, but a change has to happen. Thanks, Johnny. Thanks, Benji. Fritz says he's on to the Clermont president about your Wi-Fi. So next week will be much better. And a big thanks to all you guys for listening as well. Make sure you hit subscribe, leave us a nice review if you can as well. Check us out on Rugby Pass as well as on YouTube. Enjoy the top 14 on Premier Sports this weekend, and we will be back with another episode next week. Au revoir, guys.
Cheers.
See you, fellas.